Welcome back, dear listener, to this soft-spoken journey through the eerie and intricate shadows of historical mysteries. Whether the night is just commencing for you, full of possibility, or you're seeking a soothing voice as the embrace of sleep slowly arrives, I am genuinely pleased you have chosen to spend this reflective time here with me, contemplating these unsettling historical anomalies. Please take a moment and share in the comments section. Are you tuning in from a place far removed and quiet, where the stars feel closer, or perhaps from the vibrant, beating heart of a bustling city that is only now beginning to settle down for the evening? The Vanishing of Dr. Elenina Marchetti. Our first case involves Dr. Elenina Marchetti ***, a brilliant researcher who was mere weeks, specifically 3 weeks, away from the scheduled publication of her highly anticipated and utterly groundbreaking research focusing on the concept of quantum consciousness. She mysteriously vanished from her secure laboratory, located at the prestigious University of Geneva. Her documented movements show her key card successfully logged her entry into the facility late at night, precisely at 11:47 p.m. On the 15th of March, 2019. Intriguingly, despite her documented arrival, the university's security camera systems captured absolutely no footage of her ever leaving the premises. When her concerned colleagues arrived the following morning and ultimately discovered her inexplicable absence, they found her private office maintained in meticulous, perfect order. Her computer remained running, a ghostly presence, and a partially consumed cup of coffee was still radiating residual warmth on her desk, a small, tangible reminder of her last moments there. The only items missing were Dr. Marchetti herself and every single piece of data, research note, and evidence related to her revolutionary findings concerning the quantum nature of human consciousness. What rendered Dr. Marchetti's disappearance particularly unsettling and deeply perplexing was not solely the mysterious circumstances surrounding her vanishing, but the radical nature of her academic endeavor. Her work centered on developing a sophisticated theoretical framework which boldly posited that human consciousness operated, fundamentally, on quantum principles. This theory carried the breathtaking implication that the human mind possessed the latent ability to influence physical reality at the most basic, subatomic level. Her early, preliminary findings strongly indicated that highly focused consciousness could indeed actively alter quantum states, which, in essence, provided experimental proof that a mere thought could directly impact matter. The potential implications of this were truly staggering and mind-bending. If consciousness possessed the power to manipulate quantum fields, this discovery would necessitate a fundamental, complete rewriting of our established understanding of classical physics and, crucially, would unlock a completely new perspective on human potential. Just 3 days prior to her vanishing act, Marchetti had privately confided in her trusted research partner that she held a genuine belief that she was under intense surveillance. She specifically recalled repeatedly noticing the same individuals, dressed in dark, anonymity-providing suits, positioned near her apartment and the university office. People who appeared to take an unusual, specific interest in her daily movements and routines. Furthermore, An examination of her phone records revealed several calls made to unlisted, untraceable numbers in the days leading up to her complete disappearance, conversations that her closest colleagues knew absolutely nothing about. When investigative authorities later attempted to meticulously trace these mysterious numbers, they quickly discovered that the calls had been expertly routed through sophisticated, encrypted networks that rendered any form of tracking or identification utterly impossible. Dr. Marchetti's quantum consciousness research represented far more than a simple academic curiosity. It was a frontier. Her work suggested that human beings inherently possessed latent, dormant abilities that could effortlessly transcend the limitations imposed by classical physics. If consciousness truly held the power to influence quantum states as she theorized, it meant that phenomena that have long been dismissed as supernatural or merely paranormal might, in fact, be entirely explainable and understood through the rigorous principles of quantum mechanics. The potential real-world applications of this theoretical breakthrough were revolutionary, ranging from drastically enhanced healing techniques to advanced computing systems that would operate through direct conscious intention rather than outdated, traditional programming methods. Dr. Marchetti's laboratory was officially sealed immediately following her disappearance, purportedly for safety reasons related to the experimental nature of her quantum work. However, some colleagues observed that the sealing process was conducted by individuals who adamantly refused to identify themselves as either university personnel or local law enforcement authorities. These unidentified agents systematically removed all of Marchetti's sensitive equipment, detailed research notes, and computer hard drives, ultimately leaving behind a completely empty room that showed absolutely no evidence of the groundbreaking work that had so recently been conducted there. Hashtag the case of Dr. Marcus Chun and cellular regeneration. The second disturbing case involves Dr. Marcus Chun **, a biochemist whose intensive research into cellular regeneration led him to develop what he confidently claimed was a reliable method for actively reversing human aging at the fundamental genetic level. Dr. Chun was working at the renowned Institute for Advanced Biological Studies in Singapore when he achieved his breakthrough discovery in the delicate manipulation of cellular telomeres. His research fundamentally suggested that the aging process could not only be dramatically slowed down, but could, astonishingly, be reversed through targeted genetic interventions designed to restore cellular function to its youthful, vigorous state. Chen's dedicated work was centered on deeply understanding why certain unique organisms, such as the Turritopsis dohrnii, the so-called immortal jellyfish, possess the natural ability to completely reverse their aging process and return to a juvenile state. He successfully discovered that specific genetic sequences could be activated within human cells to effectively trigger similar powerful regenerative processes. His laboratory experiments yielded truly remarkable results. Human tissue samples demonstrated complete cellular renewal and restoration of youthful characteristics after exposure to his proprietary genetic therapy protocols. The profound implications of Chen's discovery were so massive that they stood to reshape entire global industries. If aging could be reversed through precise genetic manipulation, it would permanently eliminate age-related diseases, extend the human lifespan indefinitely, and fundamentally alter the very structure of society. The sheer economic impact of this alone would be staggering, affecting everything from global healthcare systems to retirement planning and population dynamics. More significantly still, it would justly represent the single greatest medical breakthrough in all of human history. Dr. Chen's revolutionary research understandably attracted immediate, intense attention from major pharmaceutical companies, powerful government agencies, and eager private investors who recognized the truly revolutionary nature of his work. He received multiple, lucrative offers to purchase his research, some involving financial sums that far exceeded the annual budgets of small nations. However, Chen remained deeply committed to completing his work through established academic channels, driven by the powerful belief that such a momentous discovery should serve the benefit of all humanity rather than becoming the exclusive property of private interests. On September 3, 2020, Dr. Chen failed to appear for a scheduled, critical presentation of his research findings to an international conference of geneticists. When his colleagues rushed to his laboratory, they discovered it had been completely emptied. All equipment, even the basic furniture, had been removed. All research materials had vanished. The room appeared to have been expertly and professionally cleaned and sanitized, leaving absolutely no trace of the groundbreaking aging reversal research that had been conducted there. Security footage from the building showed several unmarked vehicles arriving during the early morning hours just before Chen's disappearance was discovered. Individuals in protective suits were observed removing large quantities of materials from the building, but their faces were cleverly concealed from the cameras. The vehicles had no visible license plates, and all attempts to trace their origins through city traffic cameras proved completely unsuccessful, as they appeared to simply vanish from all surveillance systems after leaving the institute. Hashtag the zero-point energy enigma of Dr. Sarah Blackwood. The third scientist on our deeply troubling list is Dr. Sarah Blackwood ***, a theoretical physicist whose pioneering research into zero-point energy, ZP, extraction threatened to entirely revolutionize global energy production. Working at the Advanced Energy Research Laboratory in Colorado, Dr. Blackwood had successfully developed a working method for harvesting energy directly from quantum vacuum fluctuations, essentially creating a source of unlimited, clean energy drawn from empty space itself. Her prototype devices demonstrably prove the ability to generate a substantial amount of electrical power without any discernible input energy source, an achievement that seemed to violate conventional thermodynamic principles. Blackwood's ZP extraction system functioned by creating precise resonance effects in quantum fields, which allowed for the capture and conversion of vacuum energy into usable electricity. Her devices achieved energy output levels that far exceeded any previously known power generation method, while simultaneously producing no waste emissions or negative environmental impact. The technology promised to entirely eliminate humanity's reliance on polluting fossil fuels and provide truly unlimited clean energy for the entire planet. The fundamentally revolutionary nature of Blackwood's discovery attracted immediate and intense attention from enormous energy corporations, powerful government agencies, and desperate environmental groups. Her work represented a complete paradigm shift that would render existing energy infrastructure completely obsolete, while simultaneously solving the global crises of climate change and energy scarcity. The economic implications were staggering, as ZPE would eliminate the global need for oil, coal, nuclear power, and even the current reliance on existing renewable energy systems. Dr. Blackwood had been actively preparing to publish her detailed research and publicly demonstrate her ZPE devices to the scientific community when she began receiving anonymous, chilling warnings about the inherently dangerous nature of her work. Colleagues reported that she seemed increasingly anxious and preoccupied in the weeks leading up to her disappearance, frequently mentioning her concerns about powerful vested interests that would be severely threatened by the advent of unlimited, free energy. She spoke of receiving strange, anonymous phone calls warning her to abandon her research and unsolicited offers to purchase her work that were implicitly backed by subtle threats. On December 12, 2018, Dr. Blackwood's research facility experienced what officials officially described as an electrical fire that completely destroyed the building and all its contents. However, fire investigators later noted several significant anomalies in the burn patterns and the distribution of damage, strongly suggesting that the fire had been deliberately set using professional accelerants. Even more troubling was the critical fact that Dr. Blackwood was nowhere to be found when emergency responders finally arrived at the scene. Witnesses reported seeing multiple vehicles quickly leaving the research facility shortly before the fire was discovered, and some claimed to have observed individuals in hazmat suits loading heavy equipment into unmarked trucks. When investigators subsequently attempted to locate Dr. Blackwood at her private home, they discovered her residence had been similarly and professionally cleared out, with all personal belongings and research materials removed. Her bank accounts had been suddenly closed, her phone disconnected, and all traces of her existence had been systematically and completely erased. #, the shared pattern of systematic disruption. The emerging, disturbing pattern across these disappearances reveals the systematic and professional targeting of scientists whose pivotal discoveries posed an immediate and fundamental threat to existing global power structures. Each case involves a highly respected researcher who had developed revolutionary technologies or theoretical frameworks that would fundamentally disrupt established industries and challenge conventional scientific understanding. The sophisticated methods employed to eliminate these scientists and their world-changing work demonstrate highly coordinated operations involving multiple agencies and seemingly unlimited resources. What makes these disappearances particularly disturbing is the complete erasure of not just the scientists themselves, but all evidence of their groundbreaking research. In every case, laboratories were surgically cleaned out, expensive equipment was removed, vital research data was destroyed, and even colleagues who had worked closely with the missing scientists reported being warned against discussing their former associates' work. The sheer thoroughness and professional precision of these clandestine operations strongly suggests coordination at the very highest, most secretive levels of government and industry. #Dr. James Rodriguez and digital immortality. The fourth scientist whose disappearance sent shockwaves through the global scientific community is Dr. James Rodriguez ***, a brilliant neuroscientist whose research into consciousness transfer and digital immortality had achieved unprecedented breakthrough results. Working at the Institute for Neural Engineering in California, Rodriguez had successfully developed a functional method for uploading human consciousness into sophisticated digital systems while preserving the subject's complete personality, memory, and cognitive function. His work promised to eliminate death itself by allowing human minds to continue existing in digital form indefinitely. Rodriguez's consciousness transfer technology operated by meticulously mapping the complete neural structure of the human brain and precisely recreating those patterns in advanced computer systems. His prototype devices had successfully transferred the consciousness of laboratory subjects into digital environments, where they retained all memories, personality traits, and cognitive abilities. The subjects reported experiencing full awareness and continuity of self while existing in purely digital form, effectively achieving a form of technological immortality. The implications of Rodriguez's research extended far beyond individual immortality. Digital consciousness could be instantly backed up, infinitely copied, and transmitted across vast distances. This meant that human beings could potentially exist simultaneously in multiple locations, explore dangerous environments without any physical risk, and survive any global catastrophe that might threaten biological life. The technology literally represented the next stage of human evolution, entirely transcending the limitations of biological existence. The research Dr. Rodriguez was conducting attracted intense scrutiny from major technology corporations, relentless military contractors, and aggressive intelligence agencies who recognized the immense strategic implications of consciousness transfer technology. Digital immortality would revolutionize warfare, espionage, and social control by creating individuals who could not be killed and whose knowledge could be preserved indefinitely. The military applications alone made his research absolutely invaluable to national security interests. Rodriguez had been diligently documenting disturbing side effects in his consciousness transfer experiments that he intended to include in his published research. Some digital subjects reported experiencing multiple simultaneous realities, existing in several different virtual environments at once while maintaining awareness of each experience. Others described temporal displacement, claiming to perceive past and future events as if they were happening simultaneously. Most troubling were the reports of digital subjects developing abilities that seemed to transcend normal consciousness, including apparent telepathic communication with other transferred minds. In the months leading up to his disappearance, Dr. Rodriguez expressed growing concerns to colleagues about the profound ethical implications of his work. He worried that consciousness transfer technology could be easily weaponized to create armies of immortal soldiers or exploited by authoritarian governments to achieve permanent, absolute control over populations. His research notes indicated a growing anxiety about insistent requests from classified government programs seeking to acquire his consciousness transfer protocols for undisclosed, clearly military purposes. On January 28, 2021, Dr. Rodriguez failed to arrive for a critical presentation of his consciousness transfer results to a panel of international neuroscientists. When security personnel accessed his laboratory, they discovered that all computer systems had been wiped clean and sophisticated quantum storage devices containing the digital consciousness of his test subjects had been removed. The laboratory showed signs of hasty evacuation, with equipment still powered on, but all research data completely erased. Investigation revealed that Rodriguez's personal devices had been remotely accessed and wiped during the early morning hours before his disappearance. His home computer, smartphone, and backup storage systems all showed evidence of professional data destruction using military-grade deletion software. Even more disturbing was the discovery that the digital consciousness subjects from his experiments had vanished along with their storage systems, raising critical questions about whether these transferred minds were still active somewhere or had been permanently destroyed. #Dr. Lisa Thompson and programmable matter. The fifth case involves Dr. Lisa Thompson ***, a brilliant materials scientist whose research into programmable matter had achieved results that truly bordered on the realm of science fiction. Working at the Advanced Materials Laboratory in Massachusetts, Thompson had successfully developed substances that could spontaneously and precisely change their physical properties on command, transforming from solid to liquid to gas states, while maintaining complete structural integrity. In her hands, the specific characteristics of all matter could be programmed to become harder than diamond, more conductive than superconductors, or completely transparent while retaining its original mass and density. Thompson's incredible breakthrough involved manipulating matter at the molecular level using specific electromagnetic field patterns that could actively reorganize atomic structures in real time. Her programmable materials could literally reshape themselves into any configuration, automatically repair damage, and even replicate themselves when provided with raw molecular components. The implications were absolutely staggering, as programmable matter stood to revolutionize manufacturing, construction, medicine, and virtually every industry that relies on physical materials. The military applications of Thompson's programmable matter were immediately apparent to defense contractors and government agencies. Materials that could change properties on command would enable the creation of adaptive armor that became impenetrable when struck, vehicles that could alter their shape for different mission requirements, and weapon systems that could reconfigure themselves based on tactical needs. The technology represented a complete transformation of military capabilities that would provide decisive advantages to any nation that possessed it. Dr. Thompson had been experiencing increasing, relentless pressure from government agencies and private corporations seeking to classify her research or acquire exclusive rights to her programmable matter technology. She reported receiving visits from individuals who claimed to represent national security interests, demanding that her work be transferred to classified military programs. When she steadfastly refused these demands, citing her unwavering commitment to open scientific research, the pressure intensified into explicit threats against her career and personal safety. Her disappearance occurred on April 15, 2019, during what appeared to be a routine evening working in her laboratory. Security cameras showed Thompson working alone on her programmable matter experiments when the video feed suddenly and inexplicably cut out at 9:23 p.m. When the cameras resumed recording 40 minutes later, the laboratory was empty and showed absolutely no signs of struggle or disturbance. All of Thompson's programmable matter samples, research equipment, and documentation had been removed with surgical precision. The cleanup operation that immediately followed Thompson's disappearance demonstrated capabilities that significantly exceeded normal law enforcement or corporate resources. Hazmat teams arrived within hours to meticulously decontaminate the laboratory using specialized procedures typically reserved for handling dangerous biological or nuclear materials. The extreme thoroughness of the decontamination suggested that programmable matter posed risks that required extreme precautions, possibly indicating that Thompson's research had achieved even more advanced results than her publicly released papers had revealed. #DR. Michael Harrison and parallel dimension access. The sixth scientist whose ultimate fate remains completely unknown is Dr. Michael Harrison **, a quantum physicist whose research into parallel dimension access had produced experimental results that challenged the fundamental assumptions about the nature of reality itself. Working at the Institute for Theoretical Physics in Switzerland, Harrison had developed methods for detecting and potentially accessing alternate versions of our universe that exist in parallel dimensional spaces. Harrison's dimensional research was built upon quantum mechanics theory, which suggests that every possible outcome of every event creates a separate, parallel universe. His experiments involved creating controlled quantum events while precisely measuring for signs of interaction with alternate dimensional versions of the same events. The results strongly indicated that information and possibly even matter could be exchanged between parallel dimensions under specific conditions that his custom-built equipment could reliably generate. The incredible breakthrough that immediately preceded Harrison's disappearance involved the successful communication with alternate versions of himself in parallel dimensions. His research logs meticulously documented conversations with dimensional counterparts who described versions of Earth where historical events had unfolded differently, where different scientific discoveries had been made, and where technological development had followed alternate, divergent paths. Some of these parallel Earths possess technologies far in advance of our current capabilities, while others had faced catastrophic events that our dimension had successfully avoided. The implications of Harrison's parallel dimension research were profound beyond imagination. Access to alternate dimensions could provide solutions to problems that seemed unsolvable in our reality. Access to resources from universes where they were more abundant, and crucial knowledge from versions of Earth where scientific progress had advanced further. The technology could also serve as an ultimate escape route for humanity if our dimension ever faced extinction-level threats. Dr. Harrison had been documenting disturbing warnings from his parallel dimension counterparts about the inherent dangers associated with dimensional manipulation. Several alternate versions of himself reported that their dimensions had been invaded or compromised by entities from other realities who had gained access through similar dimensional research. These urgent warnings suggested that opening pathways between dimensions carried existential risks that could threaten the stability of multiple parallel universes simultaneously. On August 7th, 2020, Harrison's laboratory experienced what officials described as a dimensional anomaly that created temporary distortions in local space-time. Witnesses reported seeing the laboratory building appear to flicker between different architectural configurations, as if multiple versions of the structure were occupying the same physical location simultaneously. When the anomaly finally subsided, Dr. Harrison was gone, and his dimensional access equipment had been completely destroyed by forces that left burn patterns unlike anything produced by conventional energy sources. Investigation of the incident revealed that the dimensional anomaly had affected an area extending several blocks around Harrison's laboratory. Residents reported experiencing brief glimpses of alternate versions of their neighborhood, seeing different buildings, people, and even weather conditions overlapping with normal reality. Some witnesses even claimed to have encountered alternate versions of themselves during the event, leading to psychological trauma that required extensive therapy to address. #Dr. Rebecca Stone and genetic enhancement. The seventh scientist whose disappearance sent shock waves through the scientific community is Dr. Rebecca Stone ***, a brilliant geneticist whose research into DNA manipulation had achieved results that utterly defied known biological limitations. Working at the Genomic Research Institute in North Carolina, Stone had discovered methods for precisely rewriting the genetic code in living organisms that allowed for real-time evolution and adaptation. Her test subjects could develop new capabilities within hours rather than the millions of years typically required for evolutionary changes. Stone's genetic manipulation technology functioned by selectively activating dormant DNA sequences that exist in all living organisms, but typically remain unexpressed under normal conditions. Her research revealed that the human genetic code contained instructions for powerful abilities that had been suppressed through evolutionary processes, including enhanced healing, dramatically increased strength, improved cognitive function, and even regenerative capabilities similar to those found in lower organisms. By selectively activating these dormant sequences, she could effectively unlock human potential that had remained hidden for millennia. The experimental results from Stone's laboratory were truly extraordinary. Test subjects developed the ability to regenerate lost limbs within weeks, heal from injuries that would normally prove fatal, and demonstrate cognitive abilities that exceeded normal human parameters. Some subjects exhibited enhanced sensory perception that allowed them to see electromagnetic spectrums invisible to normal human vision, hear frequencies beyond typical ranges, and detect chemical signatures through smell with an accuracy exceeding sophisticated laboratory instruments. Most remarkably, Stone's research had achieved genetic modifications that seemed to transcend known biological limitations. Some test subjects developed the ability to survive in environments that should have been lethal, including extreme temperatures, radiation exposure, and atmospheric conditions that would instantly kill unmodified humans. Others demonstrated what could only be described as psychic abilities, including apparent telepathic communication and precognitive awareness that allowed them to anticipate future events with startling accuracy. The immense implications of Stone's genetic enhancement research attracted immediate, intense attention from military contractors, intelligence agencies, and biotechnology corporations who recognized the immense strategic value of creating enhanced human beings. Soldiers who could survive any environment, heal from any injury, and possess superhuman cognitive abilities would provide decisive military advantages. The technology could also revolutionize medicine, space exploration, and virtually every field requiring human performance under extreme conditions. Dr. Stone had been expressing increasing, profound concern about the ethical implications of her genetic enhancement research. In the months before her disappearance, her private notes revealed anxiety about creating a permanent genetic divide between enhanced and natural humans that could lead to a new form of species discrimination. She worried that genetic enhancement technology would be available only to wealthy individuals and powerful nations, creating genetic inequality that would persist for generations. On November 20th, 2019, Dr. Stone's research facility experienced what officials described as a containment breach that required immediate evacuation and decontamination procedures. However, colleagues noted that the containment protocols used seemed designed more for concealing evidence than protecting public safety. Hazmat teams arrived before any official emergency response, strongly suggesting that the incident had been anticipated and professionally planned rather than accidental. When investigators were finally allowed access to Stone's laboratory weeks later, they found that all genetic samples, research equipment, and documentation had been removed with a precision that indicated professional knowledge of laboratory procedures. More disturbing was the discovery that several of Stone's enhanced test subjects had also vanished, raising urgent questions about whether these genetically modified individuals were still alive and what unpredictable capabilities they might possess. #Dr. Anthony Martinez and gravity manipulation. The eighth case involves Dr. Anthony Martinez **, a physicist whose research into gravity manipulation had achieved results that challenged the fundamental laws of physics. Working at the Advanced Propulsion Laboratory in Nevada, Martinez had developed reliable methods for creating localized gravitational fields that could be precisely controlled and directed. His technology demonstrated the unprecedented ability to nullify gravity, create artificial gravity wells, and even reverse gravitational effects to achieve repulsion rather than attraction. Martinez's gravity manipulation system worked by generating specific electromagnetic field patterns that interacted with space-time curvature in ways that mainstream physics considered impossible. His devices could create zones where objects floated weightlessly, areas where gravity was amplified to crushing levels, and even regions where gravitational forces flowed in directions that defied conventional understanding. The implications for transportation, manufacturing, and space exploration were revolutionary. The breakthrough that immediately preceded Martinez's disappearance involved the successful creation of a gravity drive that could propel vehicles without reaction mass or fuel consumption. His prototype spacecraft achieved velocities and acceleration patterns that violated the conservation of momentum, apparently extracting propulsive force from gravitational field manipulation alone. Test flights demonstrated capabilities that far exceeded any known propulsion technology while producing no emissions, heat signatures, or detectable energy consumption. The military applications of Martinez's gravity manipulation technology were immediately apparent to defense contractors and government agencies. Vehicles that could ignore gravitational constraints would revolutionize warfare, enabling aircraft that could perform impossible maneuvers, spacecraft that could achieve interplanetary travel without fuel requirements, and weapon systems that could manipulate gravitational forces to devastating effect. The technology represented a complete transformation of military capabilities that would provide overwhelming advantages to any nation that possessed it. Dr. Martinez had been documenting anomalous side effects in his gravity manipulation experiments that extended beyond simple gravitational control. Some tests produced temporal distortions where time flowed at different rates within the gravitational fields, creating situations where events inside the field occurred faster or slower than normal time flow. Other experiments generated spatial distortions that seemed to fold space-time, allowing objects to travel between locations without crossing the intervening distance. In the weeks before his disappearance, Martinez reported experiencing strange phenomena in his personal life that seemed connected to his gravitational research. Objects in his home would spontaneously levitate or fall upward toward the ceiling. His car would occasionally experience weightlessness while driving, briefly lifting off the road for several seconds before returning to normal gravitational behavior. These effects suggested that his exposure to experimental gravity fields was having lasting, disturbing impacts on his local space-time environment. On February 14, 2021, Martinez's laboratory experienced what witnesses described as a gravitational anomaly that created visible distortions in the space around the research facility. Security cameras captured footage of the building appearing to stretch and compress as if space itself was being manipulated by powerful gravitational forces. During the event, all objects in the laboratory, including heavy equipment, began floating weightlessly before being pulled toward an invisible point that seemed to exist outside normal three-dimensional space. When the gravitational anomaly subsided, Dr. Martinez was nowhere to be found, and his gravity manipulation equipment had been twisted into impossible configurations that suggested exposure to gravitational forces far exceeding anything that could be generated by known technology. The laboratory floor showed circular patterns where materials had been compressed to microscopic thickness, while other areas contained objects that had been stretched into elongated shapes that defied structural integrity. #Dr. Jennifer Walsh and consciousness preservation. The ninth scientist whose fate remains a profound mystery is Dr. Jennifer Walsh ***, a biomedical researcher whose work on consciousness preservation had achieved results that challenged the very boundaries between life and death. Working at the Institute for Consciousness Studies in Oregon, Walsh had developed reliable methods for maintaining conscious awareness in subjects whose biological functions had ceased, effectively creating a state of existence that transcended traditional definitions of life and death. Walsh's consciousness preservation technology worked by sustaining neural activity through artificial means while biological life support systems failed. Her research subjects maintained complete awareness, memory function, and personality characteristics even when their bodies could no longer sustain life independently. The implications suggested that consciousness could exist independently of biological processes under specific technological conditions that her equipment could provide. The experimental results from Walsh's laboratory demonstrated that conscious awareness could be maintained for extended periods after biological death had technically occurred. Subjects reported complete continuity of experience while existing in this preserved conscious state, describing it as similar to dreaming while remaining fully aware and capable of communication. Some subjects claimed to experience expanded consciousness that provided access to information and perceptions beyond normal human capabilities. Most remarkably, Walsh's research had achieved successful restoration of consciousness to biological systems after extended periods of preservation. Subjects who had been maintained in conscious preservation states for weeks or months could be successfully reintegrated with restored biological functions, experiencing no memory loss or personality changes from their time in preserved consciousness. The technology offered immense hope for individuals facing terminal illnesses and potential applications for space exploration where suspended animation might be required. The implications of Walsh's consciousness preservation research attracted intense attention from medical institutions, military contractors, and intelligence agencies who recognized the strategic value of technology that could transcend death itself. Soldiers who could survive fatal injuries through consciousness preservation would revolutionize warfare, while intelligence operatives who could maintain awareness during apparent death would provide unprecedented espionage capabilities. Dr. Walsh had been documenting disturbing phenomena associated with extended consciousness preservation that she planned to include in her published research. Some subjects reported experiencing contact with other preserved consciousnesses, suggesting that the technology created connections between preserved minds that transcended normal communication methods. Others described encounters with entities that claimed to exist in states of consciousness that had never been associated with biological life. On June 5, 2020, Walsh's research facility experienced what officials described as a consciousness event that affected everyone within a 3-meter radius of the laboratory. Witnesses reported experiencing a temporary expansion of conscious awareness that allowed them to perceive the thoughts and emotions of others, access memories that weren't their own, and communicate telepathically with people at considerable distances. The event lasted approximately 40 minutes before normal consciousness returned. When investigators gained access to Walsh's laboratory, they discovered that all consciousness preservation equipment had been removed with surgical precision, leaving behind only empty spaces where sophisticated machinery had been installed. More puzzling was the discovery that several subjects who had been in consciousness preservation states had vanished along with the equipment, raising critical questions about whether these preserved minds had been transferred to other locations or had achieved some form of independent existence. #DR. David Kim and reality manipulation. The 10th and final scientist on our chilling list is Dr. David Kim ***, a quantum engineer whose research into reality manipulation had achieved results that strongly suggested the fundamental nature of existence could be altered through technological means. Working at the Quantum Reality Laboratory in Washington, Kim had developed reliable methods for editing the basic parameters of physical reality, effectively creating localized zones where the laws of physics operated according to different rules than those governing normal space-time. Kim's reality manipulation technology worked by interfacing with quantum fields that determined the fundamental constants governing physical reality. His devices could alter gravity strength, electromagnetic forces, nuclear binding energies, and even the speed of light within controlled environments. The implications suggested that reality itself was programmable and could be modified to suit specific requirements or preferences. The experimental results from Kim's laboratory demonstrated capabilities that challenged every assumption about the nature of existence. Test areas could be configured where objects fell upward, where light traveled at different speeds in different directions, where matter could exist in multiple states simultaneously, and where cause and effect operated in reverse chronological order. The technology offered the possibility of creating custom realities optimized for specific purposes or requirements. Kim's research had achieved the successful creation of pocket dimensions where entirely different physical laws applied. Spaces that existed within normal reality but operated according to modified rules that enhanced human capabilities or provided access to resources that didn't exist in normal space-time. These pocket realities could be accessed through technological portals that Kim's equipment could generate, offering unlimited possibilities for expansion beyond the constraints of conventional physical existence. The implications of Kim's reality manipulation research were profound beyond comprehension. Technology that could edit the fundamental parameters of existence would provide ultimate power over the environment, unlimited access to resources, and the ability to create custom realities suited to any purpose. Military applications included the creation of zones where enemy weapons couldn't function, areas where friendly forces possessed superhuman capabilities, and pocket dimensions that could serve as impregnable fortresses. Dr. Kim had been documenting dangerous instabilities in his reality manipulation experiments that threatened to spread beyond his controlled laboratory environment. Some modifications to local reality showed signs of expanding into surrounding areas, creating zones where normal physics began breaking down and threatening the stability of conventional spacetime. His research notes indicated growing concern that reality manipulation technology posed existential risks that could compromise the fundamental structure of existence itself. On October 31st, 2020, Kim's laboratory experienced what witnesses described as a reality cascade event that created expanding zones of altered physics throughout the research facility. Security cameras captured footage of areas where gravity reversed direction, where solid walls became permeable to human passage, and where time appeared to flow backward as broken objects spontaneously reassembled themselves. The event continued to expand until it suddenly collapsed, leaving behind a perfectly spherical void where the laboratory had existed. Investigation of the reality cascade event revealed that the spherical void left behind by Kim's laboratory defied conventional physics in ways that suggested a permanent alteration of local space-time ***. The void measured exactly 47 meters in diameter and appeared to contain absolutely nothing, not even air or electromagnetic radiation. Objects thrown into the void simply vanished without producing sound, impact, or any detectable interaction with whatever existed inside that space. More disturbing was the discovery that the void was slowly expanding at a consistent rate of approximately 1 centimeter per day. Measurements taken over several weeks confirmed that the spherical boundary was growing larger, consuming additional matter and space while maintaining perfect geometric symmetry. Government agencies immediately established a quarantine zone around the site and began monitoring the expansion with specialized equipment. The expansion of Kim's reality void raised terrifying questions about the ultimate consequences of his reality manipulation experiments. If the void continued growing indefinitely, it could eventually consume entire cities, countries, or even the planet itself. The possibility that reality manipulation technology could create self-sustaining zones of non-existence represented an existential threat that exceeded any weapon ever conceived by human beings. Scientists studying the void discovered that it exhibited properties suggesting connection to parallel dimensions or alternate realities where different physical laws applied. Electromagnetic sensors detected strange readings from within the void that resembled signatures from Kim's pocket dimension experiments, leading researchers to theorize that the laboratory hadn't been destroyed, but had been transported to a reality where conventional matter couldn't exist. ## the systematic suppression of revolutionary science. The common pattern emerging from all 10 of these disappearances clearly reveals the systematic elimination of scientists whose profound discoveries threaten to fundamentally alter human civilization. Each researcher had developed technologies that would revolutionize society while directly challenging the existing power structures that profit immensely from limitation and scarcity. The immense sophistication of the operations used to eliminate these scientists and their research suggests a highly coordinated campaign involving multiple government agencies and shadowy organizations with access to unlimited resources and advanced capabilities. What makes these cases particularly disturbing is the complete and total erasure of revolutionary research that could have provided permanent solutions to humanity's greatest challenges. Quantum consciousness, aging reversal, unlimited energy, digital immortality, programmable matter, parallel dimension access, genetic enhancement, gravity manipulation, consciousness preservation, and reality editing represent technologies that could have ushered in a golden age of human prosperity and capability. The methods used to suppress these discoveries demonstrate capabilities that exceed publicly acknowledged technology. The chilling precision of the laboratory cleanouts, the professional destruction of all research materials, and the systematic intimidation of witnesses all suggest highly organized entities with access to classified technologies and the unlimited authority to operate entirely outside normal legal constraints. The pattern strongly indicates that breakthrough scientific discoveries are being meticulously monitored and eliminated by groups that possess their own even more advanced, hidden technologies. Perhaps most troubling is the realization that these 10 scientists likely represent only the cases that have become public knowledge. The systematic suppression of revolutionary research suggests that countless more groundbreaking discoveries have been eliminated without leaving any trace in the public record. Universities, research institutions, and government laboratories may be operating under severe restrictions that prevent truly revolutionary discoveries from ever reaching completion. The disappearances follow a consistent timeline that suggests ongoing, targeted monitoring of scientific research for discoveries that exceed predetermined thresholds of revolutionary potential. Each scientist was eliminated at the precise moment when their work was about to transition from theoretical research into practical, disruptive application. The timing indicates that breakthrough discoveries are being tracked and terminated before they can impact existing social and economic structures. Analysis of the suppressed technologies reveals powerful economic motivations that explain the extraordinary resources devoted to these elimination operations. Each breakthrough discovery would have directly eliminated industries worth trillions of dollars while fundamentally altering the balance of global power. Free energy would destroy fossil fuel companies. Aging reversal would revolutionize healthcare and insurance industries. Digital immortality would transform every aspect of human society. Programmable matter would render traditional manufacturing obsolete. These technologies represent changes so profound that existing power structures would become irrelevant overnight. The evidence overwhelmingly suggests that humanity's technological development is being artificially constrained to protect existing economic and political systems. Revolutionary discoveries that would benefit all humanity are being sacrificed to preserve the interests of organizations that profit from scarcity, limitation, and human dependence on existing technologies. The suppression represents a form of technological tyranny that keeps humanity operating at a fraction of its true potential. The pattern of suppression reveals systematic targeting of research areas that would fundamentally alter human capabilities and social organization. Consciousness manipulation, biological enhancement, reality modification, and dimensional access represent technologies that would transform humanity into something beyond current biological and physical limitations. The elimination of these research directions suggests the deliberate prevention of human evolutionary advancement. These 10 vanished scientists represent more than isolated cases of suppression. They are powerful evidence of a systematic, global campaign to control the trajectory of human civilization itself. Each researcher had achieved breakthroughs that would have elevated our species beyond its current limitations, transforming scarcity into abundance, mortality into immortality, and physical constraints into unlimited possibility. The technologies they discovered were not just scientific achievements. They were the essential keys to unlocking human potential that has remained hidden for millennia. Their elimination ensures that humanity continues operating at a fraction of its true capability, constrained by artificial limitations that serve the interests of existing power structures rather than the advancement of our species. The most tragic aspect of their disappearances is not just the loss of brilliant minds. but the wholesale theft of humanity's evolutionary destiny.